you have a service-based business. You do bookkeeping for clients alongside helping others grow their bookkeeping businesses. But when you first started, it was all about bookkeeping. So, in your service-based business, what would you say were the main ways that you gathered new clients initially?
Yeah, so it really just started with my own circle of people that I knew in real life. So I started my business because I wanted to stay home with my kids. And so a lot of my friends were kind of in the same boat. And so I actually had two friends from high school that also had started businesses. So they were some of my first two clients. And then other than that, I would just kind of start talking about the fact that I was starting a bookkeeping business. And so another one of my first clients was my sister's classmate. And so it was someone I didn't really know. It was kind of a distant acquaintance. But just talking about my bookkeeping business with my friends and family, that really helped a lot. Just kind of spread the word because it is a service that people actually need, and sometimes they're looking for a bookkeeper, but they just don't know where to find one.
Yeah. Did it feel awkward at all, like sharing what you were doing, or did it feel pretty natural?
It was pretty natural for the most part. I mean, whenever you're chatting with people or if you get coffee with a friend or something, they want to know what are you doing in life? Or if you meet a new person on the playground or something, they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" It's just kind of a common thing to talk about. And I wasn't pushy. I wasn't like, oh, I need bookkeeping clients. But it was just kind of, people are interested in what you're doing as a human being.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we get caught up in, well, I don't wanna come off as salesy, or I don't want
Mhm.
like talk about myself or whatnot. But then you think about, how do you refer others to go to restaurants? How do you
Mhm.
products that you really like? Like, you're just talking about them and sharing the excitement that you have, and that can really make you feel like you're just having that conversation. You're not trying to get something out of it. You're just trying to share what's new in your life. Is that kind of how you felt it
Yeah,
was?
exactly. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about getting referrals, because this is a really great thing to take advantage of that a lot of us online don't even think about, because we're thinking about, okay, how do we grow our email list? How do we do this? And how do we get more visibility? Is it social media? Is it, blogging, or what is it? But we kind of forget that we actually can have word of mouth networking or referrals. And I think this is really key for service based businesses, especially because you probably are a little bit higher ticket too. And, somebody who says something positive about your business and recommends you, you're probably going to get a client off of that more so than posting a little post on social media that's going to be gone tomorrow. So, what are some of the advantages of using referrals?
So I think the number one advantage is you get better clients. So when someone is, say you're working for someone as a bookkeeper or whatever your business is, then it's likely that their friends or their contacts are also going to be good clients. So it kind of weeds out a lot of those people who wouldn't be a good fit for you as a client. So yeah, definitely you get good clients that way. I think it's also just quicker. It requires less sales on my part if I'm referred to because they already kind of have that trust built a little bit, because their friend is recommending me. So yeah, definitely just easier and it's just good for you. I don't know. I feel like you can kind of build a reputation in your community. I don't know, this one, it's random, but there's a plumber in my community and he just he knows all the houses in my neighborhood. And he's like, "Oh, I know exactly how to do plumbing for you." And then he'll advertise in different neighborhood things. And just there's so much trust for that plumber and everyone's recommending him all the time, and so, I don't know, just, building, a reputation like that of when people trust you and then you also just really know what you're doing at that point too.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like, just the name being out there, and people like
Mhm.
hear the name, they go, "Oh, yeah, you need to have that plumber come because he's amazing," and da da da, right? And so, like, I can see that as a referral thing. So, let's talk a little bit about different referral sources. You mentioned past clients or clients that you're already working with referring you to friends or family or someone else that they know. What are some other ways that we can gather referrals?
Well, for example, for bookkeeping, I always recommend partnering with another someone who's kind of adjacent to your business. So for bookkeepers, that is like a CPA or a tax preparer or an accountant. That is a really good person because they have clients and they might have extra work that they need to offload to you. So if you can find something like a good partnership. So I don't know, if you're a lawyer, maybe you partner with a financial advisor and you can kind of share clients. Or if you're a hairdresser, maybe it's like someone else in the beauty industry. So someone who's not doing the exact same thing as you, but has the same type of clients or something, like I said, just kind of adjacent, I think is a really good option.
I like that. Kind of like you're partnering, so you're helping them grow their business, they're helping you grow theirs. And as a bookkeeper, if you're recommending a CPA or an accountant, your clients are probably going to take that recommendation seriously because they know, like, and trust you, and vice versa of that CPA to you.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like as time goes on, I just kind of naturally like think about people who could refer me. Like, and this didn't happen at the very beginning of my business, but now, if my kid is taking piano lessons or taekwondo lessons, I'm like, "Oh, maybe that person would need a bookkeeper." And it just kind of becomes more natural, I think, as time goes on too and as you get more used to it.
Something I think about too, as you're talking about what you do out wherever you are, because people usually do ask things like that, like, what do you do for work? Or, what do you do in your free time? Those kinds of things. Well, you get to share that you have your own business, but it might not bring a client right away. But the next time they're talking to someone else and that person's like, I need a bookkeeper or I need a hairstylist or whatever it is, in the back of their mind, they're like, oh, I just had a conversation with another soccer parent from from my kid's soccer team. I'll get the contact information for you, or here's their contact information, right? So it's not like sometimes it happens right away, but sometimes it could be something that you did a while ago, and then it you reap that reward later on.
Totally, yep. And I think we haven't talked about this, but any time you have a really specialized, like a really niche that you're working in, or like something really memorable about your business. Like if you're like, oh, I work with single moms who are, just starting a business or something that like you're saying, like sticks in people's mind, then they're more likely to like remember that. And then they're like, oh yeah, I have, my friend is a single mom, or, whatever the specific niche is, then it's even easier to get those referrals.
Yeah, totally. I like that. So now you get these referrals, and I know, like we were talking about, sometimes those connections happen. You're networking. It doesn't bring a sale right away, but it could along the way if you nurture those relationships. So, what are some simple ways that you've found to kind of build and maintain relationships of people that you've met?
Yeah, I think it can just be kind of natural, like kind of like you'd maintain a relationship with a friend or something. Just like regular coffee dates or like checking in, like sending them an email if like, oh, they just started something interesting in their life happened or they bought a house or whatever it is. Just be like, oh, how's it going? So I think just natural like connection is a really good way. I think an email list can help too because, that's kind of a little bit more formal or business way to do it. So if you have a way to kind of build an email list or collect people's information, maybe you're giving something away for free and then you can email them like actual good, useful content every so often and not bombard them, but give them like true, useful content that's going to help them.
Yeah, something to keep you top of mind so that they remember,
Yeah.
"Oh, I remember meeting Morgan. Oh, I remember meeting Gabe. And oh, now, oh, yeah, it's time for me to start planning my goals." Like that would be me. It's time for me to start thinking about bookkeeping. And then they know who to reach out to.
Yeah,
Hmm.
for sure.
So one thing I know, and I struggle with this too, but a lot of us struggle with asking for referrals because we don't want to come across as pushy or salesy. I know we talked about this in the beginning. Like, if you're just excited about what you do and you're just sharing it, you are not going to come across that way at all. But what are some natural ways to bring it up in conversation? Like, let's say it's somebody you just met and you don't know them. What are some ways to even maybe find out if they are looking for the type of service that you provide?
I think one thing that helps me, because I am the same way. I'm like an introvert. I don't love like talking to people necessarily, or like, I don't wanna push anything on them that they don't want. But one thing that helped me, especially at the beginning, was to go to some kind of group or something in person that is specifically designed for networking. So when I first started, I went to the Chamber of Commerce at in my city, and they actually had a group for small business owners. And I think it's not that well known, but it's pretty common, I think, for, your city to have some kind of group. And then I think that helped me just because everyone's there for kind of like the same purpose to like get to know about your business, to maybe share referrals and that kind of thing. And then, I mean, my husband's actually in a BNI group, which is a business networking international, and that's even more like structured and you have to pay a fee to be in there. But he's like, I've only been in it 2 weeks and I already have like 4 new referrals. So just because they are really good about like figuring out how to give each other referrals. And then, they have a certain amount of like networking meetings they're supposed to do each week. So that's like a step up. But I think if you're in a space where people are like, that's also their goal, I think that really helps me out.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I know that some groups, they only allow a certain type of business, like one per group type of a thing too, so that you can like correlate in that way and there's not competition.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about current clients or even past clients, because once you have a client, that doesn't mean it's the end of promotion in a way or whatnot, because you can ask your client for referrals. And so, what can that look like? What does timing look like that for you? Like, have you done that with your bookkeeping clients? How do you bring that up? And what kind of a timing is it? Is it in the beginning of when you start working with them, or are you working with them for a few months building rapport before you ask for those referrals?
Yeah, there's a few things that come to mind. So I think as part of like your process, maybe like later in your onboarding process, I'd say after like 3 months or so, maybe you can have like a reminder to yourself that just reminds your client, like, oh, if you know anyone else who needs a bookkeeper, feel free to, offer my name or I'm looking for more clients. And I think some of that will come up naturally. So if you can have like a reminder set for yourself, that's helpful. And then I also think like just if you do something impressive or something like helpful that your client is really excited about, that's also a good time, when the energy is good within like between you and your client. That is a great time. And then my business is kind of a little bit seasonal. So think about your service-based business and is it like busier in the summer or the winter? For me, it kind of revolves a little bit around tax time. So I wouldn't bother a CPA or someone around tax time talking about referrals. So I'm a little bit strategic about the time of year when people are looking for new bookkeepers and the time when people are so busy they don't have any bandwidth to do anything extra. So think about like the seasonality of your business.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now, what about referral incentives? If you have clients or even if they're not a client, how does it work to offer something in return for a referral? What have you seen that works and that's maybe even more organic, or, just fill me in on all the things?
Yeah, I haven't actually done this a lot. I've heard of different options that you can do. So I think the easiest one is like just a discount on your next month's services. So, if you bring me a new client, you can get 20% off of your next month or whatever. And that's like kind of just a little nice thank you to people. I think you can also get them just like a small gift, like a charitable donation, just like something as a thank you. Even just like a handwritten thank you note is really nice. I will say, as a bookkeeper, check with your CPA about what you're allowed to give people as gifts because sometimes there are rules about like gift cards and stuff. Yeah, I just think anything to acknowledge the fact or like a genuine thank you, like that, like your referral made a huge difference to me. Like, it's helping support my small business and my family. And, I'm able to reach certain goals because of that referral that you gave me.
Yeah. One thing that I love getting, so I try to remember to give them as well, is that handwritten note in the mail. I love snail mail. I know that it's not like the way of the 20th
Huh.
first century. Are we in the 21st century? Um, but it feels like it goes above and beyond than even like an thank you card or an gift card or whatnot. I'd actually rather have a handwritten note than have a gift card, because they had to take time to think about me, write it down, put it in the mail. And even if they just did that, it would make me want to refer others to them even more, because I know that they very much appreciated me.
Totally. Yeah, like people want to help each other, right? Like And if they understand that it's really helping you, like that goes a long way.
Yeah. What about pros and cons to different referrals or incentive types?
I guess the cons are just, like you're spending like your time, or if you're giving a discount or spending money, like it's costing you a little bit, but in the long run, if you're getting more business, it's definitely going to be worth that, like either time or money cost for you.
Yeah, makes sense. Well, and I always think about the incentives like, people pay for Facebook ads, they pay for Instagram ads or sponsorships or other things. The incentive is almost like that promotional payment or that ad that we're
Mhm.
instead we know we're getting something from it in a way, like that referral is guaranteed because they've already come to us. They want to be a part of what we're doing. So, I never really hesitate to offer something, even if you don't want to have a discount, having a bonus on top of it can go a long way. Like maybe discounting your services it isn't the right thing to do because it's not the value for your time might not be worth it. But what if you added in an extra bonus incentive, whether it's like, I'll audit this thing for you after you complete it, or maybe it's an additional 30-minute call or something like that. But you can go above and beyond in those ways to offer different gifts or incentives without having to discount your services.
Yeah, totally. That is a great point because I feel like, a lot of times business owners don't care about saving like $30, but yeah, some of these other things like an extra consultation or something would be even more valuable to them. Yeah, I like that.
So, how do we decide what's going to work best for us when it comes to incentivizing?
That's a good question. I don't know. I feel like you can kind of just like try out different things and see what works for you and your personality. Some people just have different systems or different ways they, like to work, or um, some people are going to want to send out an email with the information. But I'm a big advocate of just like some trial and error, and also doing what feels most natural to me, because I feel like that's going to come across to other people. Like if I'm doing something that is like out of my comfort zone, people will kind of figure that out, you know?
That's a good point. Find what works for you. Don't do it in the way that everyone says to do it, maybe because maybe that's not going to work for you. I think about that even with social media. Obviously, I'm not on social. I was because I thought I was supposed to, but it works better for me not to be there. But if I tried to be there because that's what everyone said I had to do, I'd be like fighting tooth and nail to get those things done, and I'd be wasting a bunch of my time. And that could be the same with referral programs or incentives. Like try the things. If they're not working, don't keep doing them. Test a different one. It's okay. It's okay to pivot when we need to or to get rid of them. If your business is booming and you can't keep up with the clients that are being referred, then you change that incentive program, right? Or you hire someone to help you and have a little mini agency or something like that. But kind of thinking about the demand of your services as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that's why all of us started businesses, right? So we could like set our own parameters, and no one else is telling us like stuff we have to do as a business owner for the most part. So that's what I try to like remember if I'm like getting annoyed by some part of my business. I'm like, no, I can just change that part. Like I don't have to do things that other people are saying or that other people are doing. That's like the joy of running your own business.
Yeah. Well, that's something I actually love about you too, Morgan, because obviously I know the insides of your business, but it's like one, you like to keep things simple. Sometimes I push you, like, let's do this, right? Like, no, just let me try this. I promise it's going to work. But you also, with your team, are like, my goal, what I want in my business, these are my values. I want family time. I want this. So I don't expect you to sacrifice that for my business, right? Like, you're not asking us to do things that you're not willing to do. And I think that that goes miles more than like trying to build this huge, robust business because you know exactly who you are and what you want out of the business. And your main goal was flexibility. So you don't want to be tied down to all the other things that you could be doing.
Yeah, totally. That's very true.
Yeah. So one other thing I kind of want to go back to when we were talking about, kind of the cold, I call it cold pitching, but really it's just having conversations with people. What kinds of questions have you found helpful when it comes to approaching people or kind of diving into if they would maybe need those services? Like, for instance, I think we could talk bookkeeping specifically. But even a question like, do you have a bookkeeper already? Or how do you do your books in your business if you find out they're a business owner? So, what have you found that works really well to kind of bridge that gap to start that conversation?
Mhm. Yeah, I think asking about people's pain points is a good one. So, like, what do you find frustrating about your business? Because that just
Mhm.
usually people have three things they can list off, especially about their finances that they're annoyed by or that are is difficult. Maybe it's invoicing their clients. That really can spark a lot of conversation. It kind of almost like gets their emotion in there too. And if you can solve any of those problems, if with your expertise, you can be like, "Oh, I use, QuickBooks invoicing to invoice clients and it really works well for these reasons," or "I use this payroll company," or whatever it is. Even if they're not going to hire you as a client right then, you can still provide like a helpful tips or helpful information. Or maybe it's like a 30-minute consult that's for free. And then again, like you said before, Gabe, like then they might remember that later and they're like, "Oh yeah, Morgan really helped me out and she seemed to know what she was doing." Then if they need you in the future, then you stick in their mind. So yeah, I feel like pain points is a good one,
Yeah.
because
I think also, like, when you're talking about pain points, I'm thinking focusing on them, like, getting
Mhm,
them talking. Everyone loves talking about themselves, right? And so, like,
mhm.
the more you get them talking, the more memorable you will be, which is kind of crazy, but that's true.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. People, yeah, love to share what they're doing. And
Mhm.
being like a good listener is part of the process too.
Yeah. Have you ever used business cards? Do you recommend having something on hand to give out to people? Like, let's say you have this great conversation and you're not going to say, "Hey, do you want me to be your bookkeeper?" But maybe you want to leave something with them. What have you found helpful in that category?
Yeah, I have business cards. I don't know, maybe they're going out of style now, but yeah, I like having business cards, especially if you're in one of those either like a specific networking meeting like we talked about earlier or someone who genuinely seems like they might need your help. I think like here's my card, like email me, or you can also be the one, you can take the initiative to be the one to follow up. So you can be like, "Can I email you next week and I'll, have a solution for that problem?" Or do you wanna grab coffee, in a month and then we can check in and see how you're doing? So just yeah, I think a business card is great. I think people have QR codes now too. I don't have that, but I think or send them to your website. Yeah, any way to like keep the relationship going is key.
Yeah, I like it. QR codes are the thing. And actually, you can have a business card QR code on your phone. Don't ask me how to do it. I don't know. But I was like, that's the coolest thing. Will you make me one? Because I don't know how to do it.
I know. My father-in-law has one of those. He's like 65 or something. I'm like, "Then good for you. That's great." He like figured that out somehow. So it can't be too I'm sure we could figure it out.
Maybe that's the next step in your business, Morgan.
I know.
Kidding. Anyway, okay. Well, as we're wrapping up, this has been so enlightening. Like, I just love talking about how do you get in front of people, like using your direct network. Direct network is huge. And one of the things that I think about when it comes to online business is that we forget about the community. And I talked about this in another conversation, but like, think about your surrounding community first and how you can serve them. That is a huge market in itself as you're growing your online business. And so all of these tips that you gave today are a great way to start doing that. And getting into those live networking groups is huge. The more connection you make in the community, the better because you will get remembered. And that's the whole point, getting remembered. Now, as we wind down, I know a lot of people are still like, "Ah, still don't want to do self promotion. I'm struggling a little bit." Like Morgan said, I'm an introvert too. What are some final thoughts or encouragement that you can give to everybody listening?
I would say just believe that people need the work you're doing. So sometimes I forget this, but as a bookkeeper, like people want a bookkeeper. Like it's gonna really improve their business and improve their life. And so if I can remember that and really just believe I am providing people a ton of value, I'm improving their business and their lives, like that goes a long way in just encouraging me to talk to people and kind of be, that salesy side a little bit and do it naturally, but just know that people really want this service. And I think just doing good work too. I know that's kind of maybe simplistic, but I think if you just do really good work, people are going to naturally like suggest you to their friends. So anytime you can just kind of go above and beyond, be kind, be friendly, and just know that you're helping those people. I think that is really important.
Amazing. Be great at what you do in all that you do and be friendly and kind. I mean, like those, it sounds so simple, right? Like, let's just do that.